Good evening, Hartford. We're the Whaler guys. You guys are the Brigade, Jerry Irwin, Peter Hindle, and we are honored to have the new boss behind the bench of the Hartford Wolf Pack, Keith McCambridge. Thank you very much for joining us, Keith.
Yeah, thank you for having me, guys.
Appreciate it. It's kind of weird. We're sitting here. It's stuffy outside, and we're talking hockey.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing because, you know, you go through your withdrawal after the Stanley Cup. Now you're like, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
You know? I mean, I golf, and Pete goes out fishing.
Yeah.
You know, we have our thing, but it's like, something's missing,
Yeah.
you know, and it's only a short period of time, as you know, being a coach.
Yeah.
You have to get prepared for the next season. So, welcome, and we want to congratulate you on your promotion to the head spot of the Wolf Pack.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm obviously an opportunity with a great organization and a great city to be the head coach of the Wolf Pack. So very excited.
That's great. Now, who are you? Are you married, kids? What's your hobbies?
I believe we only have half an hour, so I'll try to.
This is true.
Born in Thompson, Manitoba, in Canada. Family. My wife Susan. We celebrated 16 years the other day. I got a daughter Lauren, who's 14, and a son Aiden, who is 11. We live out in Unionville. Love the area. Moved here in the fall, and everybody, when you look for a move like that happens. In this profession, the number one thing you look for is to make sure your family's happy, and they are absolutely happy. They love it here.
That's
so
great.
That's been excellent. But myself, played professionally for 11 years pro. Been coaching now for 13 years. Started out in Anchorage, Alaska.
Wow.
Coaching there as an assistant coach, and then moved to as a head coach, and then moved on with the Vancouver Canucks. Their farm team was the Manitoba Moose, which luckily enough for me was my hometown. So,
That's right.
So got that position and coached there as an assistant coach for 2 years with Claude Noel, who coached the Winnipeg Jets, and Scott Arneal, who coached the Columbus Blue Jackets, and now associate coach with the Rangers. And then from there, interviewed and got the position whenever the Winnipeg Jets got their team back, their NHL team back to Manitoba. Interviewed for the head job with their American Hockey League team in St. John's, Newfoundland, and then coached there for 5 years with that organization, and then last year bringing me to Hartford and with the Rangers. So that's the Coles notes of it. But,
That's good.
And you know, as we talked off camera, you kind of have a strange connection to Hartford because you were drafted in '94, and the NHL draft was handled here in Hartford. So you know, you could say you were kind of drafted out of Hartford. You know, that's how it all started, right? So yeah, it's great to have you here. You know, we're looking forward to this next season. Last season was kind of rough, so there's a lot of obstacles and changes going on, and. You know, what are your expectations for this season coming up? Is it just trying to get everything ready? Is there a lot of changes, or is it mostly trying to just keep things moving smoothly?
Well, a lot of changes happening. Obviously, as you guys both know, in the game of hockey, in the summertime, especially the American Hockey League, there's a lot of turnover with players. So again, that is the situation this year. Obviously, you bring back some of the prospects that we've had. From the previous seasons, if they're fortunate enough to make the New York Rangers, then obviously that is the number one goal for them. But if they slip through the cracks and come down to Hartford with us, then again we build off that experience. But for us, it's building and developing those young players, the guys that have been here, along with the new players that are added in, and trying to develop them in that winning culture. So that's the number one thing, obviously, with the American Hockey League is one, you want to make sure that you have that winning atmosphere, you're entertaining, that work ethic is in place on the ice, and obviously a close second is making sure that these players are learning and developing along the way. And the nice thing about when you have guys that are into their first year, it really gives you an opportunity to mold and teach. You know, I've always been a guy in coaching that I really enjoy the teaching aspect. I enjoy the opportunity to sit down and watch video with a player about how he's playing, the good points, some of the areas he needs to work on, but also a chance just to get to know the player. I'm a big believer in that player has to know that you care about him. It goes anything. It goes in any profession, the same thing. They have to understand that the coach isn't just about whether I got the puck out on the half wall in D-zone coverage or whether I got to the front of the net on the power play. The coach, he has a vested interest in in me on the ice and off the ice as well. So a big thing for our staff is making sure those players know that we're here to help them, and making sure that we do our best to develop them and develop them in the right culture.
And as we talked about prior to the show, it's kind of, now that we're older, all of us, it's like being a father or a parent. You know, you're going to know what's bothering a player personally. You know, what might they be going through? They might be homesick. You get a young kid in, as we talked off camera about Tage Thompson being drafted from UConn over to the St. Louis Blues organization with the Wolves. You know, this is a young kid, you know, going into a big world. And I'm sure you get some of that from all your years as a coach, that you see these kids come in, and it's a lot of pressure coming in.
Yeah, it really is. You know, you have different players coming from different areas of the world. You have players coming from different backgrounds, college, coming from junior, coming from overseas. So some things that you might take for granted, that as simple things as signing a lease for an apartment, signing up for cable, your cell phone, etc. Little things that younger players need help with. Those are part. It is. You are like a father figure, and it's your job to help them along the way. It's. You know, I look back when I started pro, and some of the things you think you understand whenever you are playing junior or in college, and then you take that big step into the pro game. There's a big learning curve. There's a huge learning curve, and but that's part of our job as a coaching staff, is to make sure we're helping them on and off the ice as well, but also accelerating that. It's you know, you beginning of the year, obviously, when you look at how teams break down, you're looking to implement your structure. You want your structure to take place. You want to make sure that the philosophies and the beliefs on how you want your team to play and execute night in, night out. And not only for me, it's not just about games. It's about practices. It's you form your habits from those practices. But once you start getting the work ethic, the expectations, everything in place, now you start getting yourself, especially when you have some first-year players in there, you get yourself to Christmas, and you look to, when you get back from Christmas, those players to be rejuvenated, to have that confidence that they can play at the pro level. And now from there, the team starts to really take its shape. It starts to get that traction when you have some younger individuals. So there's always a plan. All of us coaches have plans on how we project and how we see things transpire during the season. But for me, that has always been a good footprint, that you make sure your philosophies and non-negotiables like work ethic are in place early in the year.
And really, with what the Rangers did in the offseason, the parent club, now you're going to see a lot of younger guys who want to make it up there to play with these Shattenkirks. I mean, that was a huge one for the Rangers. And now these guys who want to be that guy. And you've seen it all your career. You've seen the guy who wants to be the next Shattenkirk or the next Lundqvist, you know, in goal. I mean, you see it in their eyes, you know. We've been to plenty of games, and you can see them out on the ice, and they give 100%. And sometimes you just give 100%. It doesn't come up on the win. It comes up as a loss, and it's your job to motivate them. Okay, this one's done. Let's focus on the next game and get out there. And it's been a lot of fun to watch the young hockey players move up to the parent club. I mean, Zuccarello is a prime example. He's turned into an all-star.
That's true.
Nothing really, when you're coaching at this level, the American Hockey League level, like nothing brings more of a smile to your face when you see that player start to understand how he needs to play the game. And then whenever you see him, as you talk about, he gets that opportunity in the National Hockey League. When you sit down and you watch him step on the ice, and if you're fortunate enough to go watch the game, obviously even better, but when you watch him step on the ice and get his first chance to play in the National Hockey League, that for us coaching at this level, that is a huge, huge part that brings a lot of joy to our lives.
Yeah, you got him to that potential, and you know that's where you're looking at. You know, especially now starting the season out, you're going to see, okay, I got X amount of players. What's their potential? Each individual potential, and that's the creative side that they're going to bring to the club. Is okay. There's little pieces of the puzzle, and when you all come together, they each bring their creative, artistic design, as they call it.
Exactly.
Let's go back to a little bit of your playing days. So, you know, we did this a little bit of math here. So the IHL and AHL games, you played 461 games. and 1,331 penalty minutes. So does that mean that your style of play was it a physical style of play, would you say, as a defenseman?
I would say it was more of a physical style of play. The game was different back then,
yes.
As you guys both well know.
Oh, yeah.
So it was, there was definitely a physical element to my game.
We like that.
I knew why I was drafted and what my identity would have to be to hopefully get an opportunity. But yeah, those are some hard-earned minutes.
I'm definitely glad to hear that, because last season, just from a fan's perspective of watching the Wolfpack, I always saw an opponent in front of the Wolfpack net, and it was driving me crazy. We got to get those guys out of the crease and out of there. So I felt bad because Magnus Helberg was probably your MVP last year. He played great. Unfortunately, he went on to the KHL. Yeah. So we're gonna have to find something with the goaltender situation. Yeah. But yeah, get those guys out in front of the net. I figure you're the right guy to get that done.
And I enjoy a physical game. We understand, watching as much hockey as we do, that the NHL has moved to a very agile sport. Yeah. These guys are in phenomenal shape. Yeah. It's no longer slap shot. It's no longer the beer drinking days at the bar. Yeah. They have a regimen, and these guys are drinking their Gatorade. They're out there with their sports drinks. It's no longer big guys. These guys are in phenomenal shape, and that has a lot to do with the strength and conditioning and the brand of play. So, last year, my frustration was watching them and saying, come on, whack someone, get under their skin a bit and let that change that play, or get out there early enough to set the tone. And the same thing with UConn. When you're watching UConn, stop backing off, because the control of the game from the first period on, as you know, it's all about, you're in our house. You're going to take a lumping tonight. Let's get going.
For sure. And when you look at it, like sometimes when you're always trying to adjust to other teams, I believe in making them adjust to us. I believe in playing aggressive play, aggressive, making sure that you're forcing them to make mistakes. If you can force them to play on the offensive side of the red line for us, force them to defend the whole game instead of waiting to get the puck back in your own zone, obviously you're going to create some more scoring opportunities. So, there's definitely a balance there when you especially on your home ice, you want to make sure that you have that energy. You want to make sure that you have that passion, and again, that enthusiasm that you need to play the game.
Yeah, so take us a little bit through the process. So was it a long process to get the head coaching job, or was it pretty quick, or did you have a lot of interviews? What was that like?
Well, I had the opportunity. I went down to interview with Chris Drury and Jeff Gorton, and interviewed with them, and then you obviously, it's an honor to be interviewed and an opportunity to get the position, and then you wait. So it's and you sit and wait for that call, and fortunate for me. Again, being honored to be the head coach of the Hartford Wolf Pack. So myself and my family, very happy.
Yeah,
that's
cool.
Great.
Yeah. Now, when you watched the team last season, obviously as assistant coach, what did you learn from last season, and what are you most anxious to work on this season? Do you have anything in particular that's like at the top of your list?
Yeah, for me, it's again making sure that there's an identity early. Needing to have that identity in place. Again, playing a speed, a high tempo, aggressive game, but also having that structure in place. Right. That structure has to be there. Guys have to know that there's obviously in the offensive zone there's areas to make reads. And you guys talked earlier about you're drafted and signed for a reason, so you have those offensive abilities and parts of your game on why the New York Rangers have you under contract. But having that structure and reads that have to take place on what their responsibilities are at all time. There's no gray area. You're going to know what your job is. You're going to know what's expected. And for me, those are things that you have to make sure those are in place early on in the year.
Yeah, and you got plenty of great experience because you were a captain player coach with the Alaska Aces, where you won a Kelly Cup with them in 2003. Yep. Then, of course, you were in the AHL finals not too long ago. So you've got a little bit of a history
experience.
Here. Not that we're going to put pressure on you. You got to be in the Cup final this year, but anyway, it's a good resume. Absolutely a good resume. It sounds really good. We're excited to have you here.
So. Yeah, it's last year, like we talked about off camera, the Wolfpack fans kept on coming out. A really rough season, but they kept on coming out. And when the Wolfpack had the lead, it was tough to maintain the lead, but they were always in the game, and it kept the fans. And that's the whole thing. You feed off the energy of the fans. And with the younger crew that you have coming in, what do you expect from your veterans? As we all know, whatever job you're in, you're always looking to that veteran person to kind of show you the ropes, kind of light a fire under your behind to get things going. You know, is that where you're going to look at for the veterans to kind of build that chemistry with the group?
Yeah, for sure. And it's, again, making sure this time of year in the summertime that you're bringing in the right veterans. That it's the right veterans that, again, if they don't make the big club, now they're coming down and they have the right frame of mind. There's always a disappointment time frame there. Some guys last longer than others, but those veterans being good examples, and the examples they set is how to be a good pro. And as you guys talked, it's not just on the ice, it's off the ice. How do you take care of yourself? When you come to the rink for practice, do you come to the rink trying to get better for that day, or are you just coming to the rink to go through the motions of an hour and a half to get through your practice? So it's making sure those guys are the right guys in place, and them understanding that the message that us as a coaching staff want to relay to the players. So they have to be guys that obviously play the game the right way, making sure, again, as I talked earlier, that practice is a big focus as well, that that they're leading by example with those. And whenever, again, when they're on the bench or on the ice, they are making other players around them better, these younger players, just based on, again, making sure their talent level, but also that the way they play the game.
Right, right. And of course, one of the things that you're going to notice this season for sure is the difference in the ice, because we're getting a new ice sheet. They're actually putting it in now. You've probably seen some of the construction going on. We just heard from the CRDA that they put in 12 miles of piping. So this is a new state-of-the-art. What do you think the gameplay is going to be? How do you think that's going to affect the gameplay, having brand new ice? I mean, is it going to be a huge difference? Is the puck bounce different? I mean, it's an advantage or a disadvantage, or how do you look at it?
I think it's, first of all, I went down there. It's unbelievable how much pipe that they have in there. And they're moving along pretty good, which is exciting. But it's on one side, the boards will be, they were starting to get dilapidated, obviously. So I'm sure you guys saw that. Just the way it kicks off the boards in certain areas was a skill set in its own to be able to pick that up. So that's going to be obviously a huge benefit now. Again, making sure that the reads coming off the boards is better, and the ice. Again, I thought they did a really good job trying to maintain it the best they could. But,
it was old.
It's things in every building, every city. Things start to go, but but just the quality with having the better piping, the better everything's new now, up to date. Just the way the speed of the game, the way the puck's going to sit will hopefully be something that.
I think the best line was when they were trying to get all the money for the ice sheet. One of the lines from one of the state officials was, "This is the same ice sheet that Gordie Howe played on," and there was no question after that. So I thought it was a good answer. Good job.
Yeah, that's a great point.
But it is, and the other remark was, well, do you think it's a disadvantage to the Wolfpack if these boards are bad?
Yeah.
And the person who made the comment said, well, it's a disadvantage for the other team as well. I said, good answer. So it's funny, Chris Lawrence and his crew, Dave Romenko and what's his name? Adam Goldberg. They do a great job with the ticket sales and keeping the facility a fan-friendly experience. And you've met Chris, obviously, and his crew, and they do a great. Dave Romenko is just amazing. The group sales that they get in there with the boys, the Cub Scouts, the Girl Scouts, and that's what it's about, is building memories for the young kids and their parents to go to these hockey games. As you've seen over the years, you've seen all kinds of young kids who became maybe even hockey players that you know.
Yeah, we're going to move on to a section. This is questions we got from fans.
Oh,
so don't look at us if you don't like the question. These are fans.
I called them all in myself.
So one question we got here is, what kind of coaching style can Hartford hockey fans expect from you?
Our side, I touched a little bit of it earlier, is again an up-tempo, fast style. You see the way the National Hockey League is the same right now. It's a lot based on speed, and again making sure that it's going to be a style that is an aggressive style, not one that's back on our heels defending the whole game, and one is, as I touched on earlier, the work ethic and structure always being in place. So those are things. Again, you sit in July, you have a ghost roster, what you possibly think your team is going to be like in the American Hockey League. It is always evolving. As you guys know at this level, but whenever your team, once you get to NHL training camp and that, you have a better chance to see exactly what pieces that you'll have in place. But in the past, that's a style that I like to have in place, and good. I expect the same this year.
Yeah, sounds very good.
And you kind of touched on the next one, which is how do you hold your players accountable? Obviously, like you said, work ethic. It all starts with work ethic. If you're not ready to play and you're just going through the motions, I'm sure there's going to be hell to pay.
Yeah, you always have as a coach. You obviously. you got to make sure that everything with the players we talked about on and off the ice is okay. But you're a big part of our job is teaching, a huge part. So you're teaching the player. You're making sure he first of all understands what he needs to be doing and how he needs to play the game. And again, the accountability is always in any pro sports. It's time on ice. So it's it's that whether he's in the game or not in the game, and hopefully he is in the game, because we want to make sure that they're doing their best and they're playing on top of their game. But it's the coaching, the teaching, all parts of those, and then from there making sure if the player, if things aren't maybe going his way that night, then maybe that part of the game, the ice time is scaled back a little bit, and then an opportunity to reteach in between periods or on the bench or the next day to get him back on track again.
Right.
And we talked about it. It's really dealing with this generation. The large portion of your team is millennials. So, dealing with that frame of mind is going to be a challenge for everybody, as we all know.
For sure, it is, and it's in everything.
It's like a psychology class.
It is a little bit. You are a bit of a psychologist as a coach, so it's you just make sure again. It's you have to explain why. We talked about that earlier. You have to. It used to be before that you're going to do this and no questions asked. If you ask a question, then that's a negative thing. But now it's today, and it has to be that way. As a coach, you're always evolving, and part of the learning curve and part of the way things are nowadays, you have to explain why. This is why. We need you to be here on the forecheck, and this is the reason why. Here's the video, here's the supporting clips, whether it's National Hockey League or based on other teammates or good leader, good veteran guys that hopefully you have in your room. So again, it's that teaching aspect that this is the way we need you to play, and our job is to get you to the National Hockey League. And if you do these things, we know from experience that you'll get your opportunity.
And you have to basically have all the answers. So you have to, so when they say why, you can't say, "Oh crap, I don't have that answer." What about you?
Right. Yeah, very true.
Yeah,
very true. And you've definitely, like you said, it's always a changing roster in the AHL. We lost you lost Hellberg, and then Harivic, I believe, moved on as well.
He
And
did,
he'd been here, I think, since 2010.
Yeah.
So he was, I think, the most veteran of the players. So, and then you had a couple signings there. I think it was Corey. I can't remember his last name, but anyway, he was a former UConn player. Which is kind of interesting. And you got a couple of veterans coming in. Do you kind of look to say, like I think you mentioned earlier, you have a veteran group that you want to be like the show the younger players what to do.
And again, on our side, it's we learn a lot about the players. Obviously, when you look to sign them in the summertime, you have knowledge about how they play and the type of character that they have, because you talk to other coaches. But if those players, again, if they're not up with the big club and they're down with us, then again, it's making sure that that we're utilizing them the way that they were signed. If they're an offensive guy, they're in certain power play situations. They're with the right mix of players, whether it's a centerman or winger. But those signings, some of the players, when you lose guys, American Hockey League, there's always new guys that come in and fill those roles.
Now, when you received word that you got the position, did you have two sheets said, okay, associate coach, head coach, and you say, okay, we can take care of this one now? or did you say, oh crap, I got to start doing bigger and better things now? How did that whole thing go through your mind when you got the phone call?
For me, it's with just being a head coach previously, just being 1 year removed from it. I enjoyed the 1 year of being an assistant coach. Obviously, there's different responsibilities in that, but it probably took me to Christmas time as an assistant coach to kind of switch gears from being a head coach. But on my side, I enjoy head coaching. It doesn't take much for me to shift gears to switch into that head coach mode. But Did
you like the perspective of stepping back to an associate to get a different responsibility?
I enjoyed it for a little bit of time. Obviously, the chance to have your own footprint, your own blueprint on the team, and the way that everything is running from day to day, whether it's off ice and your practices and games is something that I really enjoy. So being an assistant coach for a year it gives you a little bit more time to have some one-on-one with the individuals, the developmental side of things, a little bit more time before and after practice. So that part I enjoyed, but deep down I always want to be head coach again. So I was 1 year removed, and like I said, I'm honored to get it back.
That's great.
Yeah, so going back to Winnipeg for a second, when you're a young man in Winnipeg, Did you go to the Jets games in the 80s?
I went to the Jets games. I used to get would get the tickets at your local 7-Eleven, and that's where you'd buy them.
Yeah.
And you'd think they're good seats, but then you'd get there and you'd be up in the nosebleed section. But yes, I went to all the NHL games as a kid.
Yeah.
Again, growing up in Canada and in Winnipeg, which it's not known very much for its weather in the wintertime, other than being freezing cold.
God, I couldn't take it.
It sounds great to me. I love the cold, as you can tell. I'm
Just in
dying here.
summertime. Go just in July and August, when the snow melts for a month and a half.
Yeah, that's true.
It was fun growing up there and fun watching National Hockey League games, obviously with the Jets, and a very fortunate city to be able to get their NHL team back. So it was fun going to those games, and really the excitement that happened when that team returned, which obviously Hartford is a very comparable city with everything that's taken place. Was growing up being a Jets fan, being from Winnipeg. Obviously the excitement that when they came back was pretty impressive.
Now, when you grew up, if you can, tell us one of your favorite moments, because everyone has, whatever city you're in, there's that moment that you sat there as a fan and said, you know what, this is the best thing that ever happened with me sitting here. Did you ever have one of those that sticks out in your mind that you'll remember for a long time being a Jets fan?
Mine was more so because I was always playing or coaching in the during the NHL season. Would be more so watching on TV, and it would be the Timo Solani whenever he his goals there with the famous. That would be on my side, and. I remember that growing up being from Winnipeg.
Yeah, we have the Kevin Dineen goal against the
Canadians.
Damn Canadians.
I've seen that picture.
I hate that team. A great team. Great. It's kind of like the Yankees. He likes the Yankees. I like the Red Sox. I hate the Yankees, but they're a great organization. But when you beat the Montreal Canadiens, and we were the Forever 500s here, when that happened, it was like, wow, this is a big deal. But we're going to wrap things up because we're at the end already. Thank you so much for coming in, and we wish you the very best this season. If we can be of any assistance to you, give us a shout. Congratulations, and we're welcome.
Yes, thank you very, very much for having me. Thank you.
And we will see you next time on the Whaler Guys. We're the Whaler Guys. You guys are Brigade. We're One Nation Under Green. Have a good night.